Welcome to the Joyful Money Podcast. This is the place for ambitious leaders, experts, authors, speakers, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs who want to make a huge impact and build a life of wealth and abundance without the stress and overwhelm. I'm your host, Joy Rowland, certified money and business coach and creator of the Joyful Money program. Each week, we'll explore proven strategies to amplify your voice, build a memorable brand, and attract high-ticket clients without the hustle. From landing podcast guest interviews to hosting high-converting VIP workshops, you'll learn how to turn your story into consistent income and use your voice to attract people to you. So if you're ready to stop chasing clients and start having them come to you instead, you are in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Joyful Money Podcast. I am so thrilled and excited because I have a very special guest today. My special guest is Pauline Victoria. Welcome to the show, Pauline.
Thank you, Joy. I'm so excited to be here.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, but I just want to give the audience some background because I feel like your life, your work inspires me. Pauline was born without limbs, so Pauline doesn't have arms and legs, and I am just challenged by you, right? The amazing things you're doing in the world. So I just wanted to give our listeners that background so that they can sit up straight and actually start listening, right? So, Pauline, why don't you start by introducing yourself and telling us what you do?
Thank you, Joy. I love what you just said because it's what I hope, right?
Mm,
Like you mentioned, people often want to know, like, what happened? How do you have no arms and legs? And I assure everybody it wasn't anything too dramatic. I was just simply born this way. And I was born to my mother, who was a Filipino immigrant, and my father, who was a Minnesota bred German Danish man, and they met in the Air Force, and I was their firstborn. And I love sharing that story
mm,
because it is very profound in terms of how do we stop suffering. So when I was born, it was completely unexpected. And when my parents found out, my dad approached it with practicality, like there's wheelchairs, there's prosthetics, we can figure it out. And my mom approached it with such faith. So when my father told her what happened to their first daughter, she responded with four words, and those four words were, "Thy will be done."
mm.
And to me, that story just illustrates how we can come into circumstances that are not what we wanted, nor do we understand them, but we can surrender to something bigger than ourselves, knowing that even though we might not understand it, that there's a bigger purpose at hand. And I feel like that even as I grew up, I struggled with the idea of, like, why did God make me this way? And I was very angry and sad, especially as a teenager. And I remember at 15 having that come to Jesus moment in church, and just like feeling all those frustrating emotions and not understanding why. And the message that came through was, your pain's not in vain. There is a purpose for it. Just wait, just hold on. And I would just that was my surrender moment. Like my mom
Mm.
had her surrender moment when I was born, and 15 years later, I had my own surrender moment, which allows me to then see my ability, see my situation as not having arms and legs as the context of my life, but not the content of my life. So what I mean by that is that when I introduce myself, I don't necessarily always identify like, oh, I'm a person with a disability.
Mm.
That has affected and influenced my perspectives and my experiences in life, but I'm not a victim to it. And I hope to be able to use it, as you said, as a way to challenge other people to look at what's really stopping them from stepping into their greatness.
Yes, thank you so much. I remember I met you through Les Brown. I found you through Les Brown, and I'm currently working with Les Brown to co-author a book with other authors. And so that's where I found you. And I'm like, gosh, this is so inspirational. And I'd love to connect with Pauline. One post you posted on your Facebook recently really captured my heart, my imagination, and my awe. And in that post, I'm just going to try to rejig your memory and hopefully you can remember. In that post, you were talking about when you were a child, and because you were with some friends by the pool, you would always go to the pool. Or I think it was the pool or by the seaside. But as the kids, your friends grew bigger, they started to swim. And because you didn't know how to swim, you were still where your friends were in the past and your friends would swim. And then you decided that you didn't want to feel left out. And that in that post, you said the pain of being left out was greater than the possibility of drowning in the water. And you chose to learn to swim. I found that so profound. Can you tell us more about that experience?
Yeah, thank you. And I love this because you're reflecting my light back to me. So sometimes I struggled with stepping into the light because I felt like, oh, my life's just ordinary. I'm just living my life. It's nothing
Mm,
extraordinary. But then hearing your perspective on my life makes me feel like, wow, that is very profound. So thank you for bringing that up to me first. Yeah, the story of me learning to swim, I was 12 years old, and as you mentioned, my friends started going into the deep end, and I was left in the shallow end where I was just kind of, with the other little kids, and I'm like 12 and they're like 3, and I just was tired of being left out on the sidelines. And, not everyone that listens to this knows what it's like to have no arms and legs. But how many times have we counted ourselves out? Like, how many times have we said, no, I'm going to stay safe in the shallow end? And we don't venture out into the deep end and we don't know what's out there. So that's one of the lessons from that story. And then the other one is what you said is like the fear of being left out was greater than the fear of drowning. Like I was willing to risk my life. And probably swallowed gallons of chlorinated water trying to figure it out. It wasn't easy, but I made a decision, and I knew that I was likable. I knew that I belonged to my friends. I was accepted. And it was just this one little thing that I needed to figure out so I could join them. Because I am also never one to want to say, you can't have those experiences because I can't go with you, right? So I want to see them grow and flourish, but I also wanted to be part of that experience. And so, yeah, I made the decision. I didn't know how. There's not a manual on like if you have no arms and legs, this is how you swim, this is how you drive, this is all the things. I just had to have the vision of me being able to swim and to belong and go out into the
mm,
deep end. And I feel like a lot of people, when we take action, oftentimes it's because our back is up against the wall, and the fear of trying and failing is less than the fear of not even trying, right? Like it's like I'm ready to risk my life. I'm ready to risk looking like a fool. I'm ready to risk um, being hurt and rejected for the possibility of fill in your blank. And I just think that when we look at our life and those little ordinary moments, like I said, it's like, oh, I'm just living my life. It's not a big deal. But there it is. And every time that we take a step out into the deep end, we grow and we
mm.
become more and we discover more about who we are.
I like what you just said that the time we take action most times is when our backs are against the wall. And as soon as you said that, I remembered an experience in my past. I used to always want to start a business, but I'd always come up with excuses. But then I think I had left my 9 to 5 job, and it was you either go all in your business or you're gonna struggle to survive, right? And that was when I started showing up, taking the action. So I can so relate to everything you just said. But Pauline, can you go back and think when was the time that you decided that you were going to use your life for a greater purpose? Like, what was that decision point for you?
Mm. I feel like it was several points.
Mm,
I
mm,
love the quote by Oprah, and she says, life will whisper to you, but if you don't listen, it will scream. And throughout my young life, I knew deep down, and I think we all know, like there's that little whisper, there's that nudge we feel in our gut that we're here to do something big.
Mm,
We're here to do something great. And I knew that in this body, I naturally attracted attention, good, bad, or indifferent, right? There's some not so fun reactions I get, and there are some that are great.
mm,
But I knew that I impacted people and I captured their attention. And so I actually went into communication, broadcast journalism as my major in college because I felt
mm,
like, okay, I don't mind putting myself out there because I'm already out there. Like I can't hide. I put a trench coat on
yeah,
me, people are still going to stare.
yeah,
And so I felt like, okay, I'm just gonna just do my work. I can be a journalist, I could be a TV anchor, and I don't need to lecture people about
mm,
how to reach their fullest potential or how to not feel sorry for themselves because I'll be illustrating it. I'll be living it. But that didn't all work out. I didn't end up on as an anchor on the evening news. And I remember after I graduated in college, there were several opportunities that kept popping up. Oh, can you speak to our women's group? Oh, can you speak to our church group? Oh, my son-in-law can get you a gig to speak to the Dryer's ice cream sales force in Ohio. I'm like, okay, I'm 23 years old. I'm like, I don't know anything about sales or ice cream other than I like it. So it's like I was constantly being given opportunity after opportunity. And with every opportunity, I tried to run faster and hide more because I was scared. And so I
mm,
wasn't owning my gift. Those were the whispers that were coming from life. And then one day I was a new mom and I was doing network marketing and I went to a network marketing event and Les Brown was there speaking. And it was the first time I heard anybody speak that way. I
mm,
had never been into personal development or motivational material or anything of that sort. I just hadn't been exposed to it. And I saw him speak and I was like, wow, that's really powerful. Oh, and before that, I'm sorry, I did skip a major step. Let me back up a little bit. I live on the big island of Hawaii, and in our little tiny town, there was a guest speaker that came to speak to our community, and his name was Nick Vujicic, and he has no arms and legs as well, but from
yeah, I know
Australia.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an amazing man. And we met, and I got to see him speak. And as I was watching him speak, I could see how I was like, oh, what am I doing with my life? Why am I not
Mm,
using my experiences? And this is a point I want to make to anyone who's listening right now. Sometimes we dampen our potential impact on people because we think there's other people with our story and they're doing it and we don't, it's like we don't need to step up or like what else can I say that is different from what they already said? It doesn't
mm,
matter. Like Nick Vujicic made an amazing impact. He's out there to evangelize people. Um, but I'm different. I have a different message. I'm a woman, like you'll never know what it's like to give birth to a baby. But so like all these different experiences matter and each voice matters. So when I saw him speak, I made a decision in my mind, like, no, I need to use my life more intentionally.
mm,
And uh, and then I made a decision, and then 3 months later, I see Les Brown speaking. So I see another example of how one can use their life to impact people.
mm,
And at that network marketing event, he motivated me. I was like, okay, I'm motivated. I'm in the lobby making sales calls and, just doing my thing. And as I'm on the phone, I'm very used to people staring at me. So I get very aware of my surroundings and I see this man in the distance kind of staring at me. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like block out the white noise and continue doing my thing. And he starts approaching me and I'm like, okay, here we go. And so people approach me all the time. They cry over me, they pray over me, they say I've changed their life. There's all sorts of reactions. So I'm like preparing myself as I'm doing some sales calls. And he comes up to me and he says, I need to talk to you. And I'm like,
mm,
I'm on the phone. And he's like, I need to talk to you now. And I'm like, okay, 1 second. So I politely get off the phone and I turn my attention to Les Brown. who I saw just for the first time. He was great, but I'm like, who is this man? I don't really know you. And he says, I'm listening to you and I'm watching you. And I say, yeah, I know. And he says, I want to teach you how to use your voice. You have a very powerful voice. And I have a training in 4 days in LA. And we were in Reno at this point, and I want you to come down. Do bring whoever you need to bring, but I want to help you. And
Mm,
that was the scream that life was
mm,
serving me at the moment. And since that time, I chose to use my life intentionally. Like, I think a lot of people look at their lives and it's just a reaction. We react to
yeah.
life, but we
Mm,
don't look at life as something that we can harness and we can use in a powerful way. And so it really is about making a decision and then being intentional about how we want to be in the world and how we want to be remembered, the legacy. Like I'm going to be 50 this year, and it is,
you
I'm
don't
like,
look it.
oh, well, thank you. But it's like, okay, you have these reflection moments where you're like, I have way more behind me than I have in front of me. So
Mm,
how do I want to spend these years, and what do I want people to say about me in my life when I'm
mm.
done here? And
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. I love this so much. Now, I'm just very curious. So, I find that you're so effective and efficient and so productive because I message you on social media and you respond immediately. I email you and you respond immediately. How do you do it? Like, how do you do like the day-to-day running of your business?
Um, well, I'm going to ask a clarifying question. Do you want to know how I physically do it, or how I like predict, how do I
Physically.
physically? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people want to know, how do you just navigate life on a day-to-day basis without arms and legs? And I don't do it alone, first of all. Okay. One of the privileges I get to experience not having arms and legs is the genuine goodness and kindness of human beings.
Wow.
So the reality is, as independent as I am and as strong as I am, part of that strength is having the humility to be able to ask for help. And so
Mm,
being able to get ready to shower, like my husband is so amazing and he helps me out. I have friends, like I'm going on a trip. My friend is coming over to help me pack later today. My son, I'm actually going to go visit my son. He's going to help me when I get there. Like there's all these things, all the people that come into play to make my life happen. And then there are like the tools, right? Like I have a stylus to be able to access my phone. I could be using my smartphone in the airport and people are like, oh my gosh, how do you type so fast? And
yeah.
or how do you do the things? And it's just it's I have a formula that I have used my whole life. I didn't realize until I stepped into using my life intentionally as a message. And that formula is, I call it the VISTA formula. And the S in VISTA is strategize. And it's always identifying the resources in terms of things and people that you have that can support you in getting
Mm,
whatever it is you want, right? It's part of the taking action part. So I do have like a stylus I put in my mouth. I access my smart technology. I type with. I don't have arms, but I do have a little bit of a stub, and so I use that to use the mouse. Um, and I just, thank God for technology. When you and I were communicating, it was all on my phone.
really?
And so, yeah, and so it's just a matter of yeah, identifying the tools I need to use to access my technology. And I'm so grateful that I was born in this day and age with the technology
Mm,
we have. I know a lot of people are a little bit nervous about technology, but technology allows me to not only be productive in my business, but it gives me the ability to have a powered wheelchair, so I'm able to go where I need to go. I can drive. Like, how does one at 16, all my friends were getting licensed, and I dreamed, I'm like, oh, is there a way that I could ever drive, and have
mm,
that extra freedom and that independence that I want? And yes, there was. And so it's just a matter of identifying what can I use around me that
mm,
um, that I can use to get to the next step. But that's how we all are, right? It's like, well, how do you how are you this productive? How have you created a podcast? How have you, written a book? Like all the things. And it really is knowing that just take action. Like you have a vision and you take action on that vision. And it just, I'm very grateful that I had the drive. 'Cause so yes, all the little things matter, right? The people matter, the tools matter, the technology matters. But at the end of the day, it's a decision I had to make, right?
Wow. I love this so much. So I'm gonna go out and dive into your business, how you help people. But first of all, can you tell me how was it like being pregnant and actually having a baby? Like, how did you manage that?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and it was such a beautiful experience. Again,
Mm,
when I was younger, didn't know if I'd ever have the experience of A, getting married, and then B, having a baby. And I have been blessed with both. And yeah, getting, I feel like, okay, getting pregnant, that's easy. But then having the baby grow inside me, I really had to adapt to him
mm,
because by the time I was like 5 months pregnant, you're starting to get the belly, he's starting to grow. I couldn't drive anymore because my van was positioned in a way where like even every millimeter matters. Like everything has to be put in the exact same spot. So I could no longer fit in the seat of my car anymore because my belly was sticking out. So I couldn't drive. I couldn't go to the restroom by myself anymore. I couldn't bend down to eat or write. So, and I was still working. And so I had to learn how to adapt to that new body very quickly and let go of the independence. Like I just talked about how independent I am and how I want to be so free. And at the same time, I had to sacrifice that independence for a
mm,
life, another
mm,
person's life. And so, and thank God for my husband. After I was 5 months pregnant, he brought me to work. He waited in the parking lot in case I had to go to the bathroom. I was hungry for lunch. Like we were together 24/7. And I joke and I say, if we could survive that, we will be married forever. Like we will be one of those couples celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary because he sacrificed a lot during that time. And so, um, it was a beautiful experience. The giving birth wasn't so beautiful, but we all came out safe and happy. And I remember afterwards, just a real quick story. I know you didn't ask about this, but it has a profound lesson.
mm,
I We come home from the hospital, and obviously, I can't change my baby. I can't really feed him. I can't bathe him. I can't pick him up. And I remember, and also you have all these hormones running through your body, right, as a woman. And I was so confronted because having him reminded me of how disabled I was.
mm,
And I was like, I went through a period of like, I don't want to look at him. I don't want to see him. I don't want to be near him. I was just going through the motions, but I was emotionally unattached from him. And that lasted about a week. Thank God it only lasted a week. But I remember having another come to Jesus moment like I had at 15.
mm,
And here I am 30 now with a baby. And I was, again, came to him with frustration and anger. And the message that I got was, it's not about you.
mm,
Like,
mm,
what? It was like, it's not about you. It's about him now. Is he getting fed? Is he getting bathed? Is he getting nurtured and loved? And what I realized is that I had to get out of my own way in order for something greater to come through. And I feel
mm,
like as entrepreneurs or speakers or anybody that has something placed on their heart that they need to
mm,
like um, uh, figuratively give birth to, sometimes you have to get out of your own way because it's not about you.
mm. Wow. I know I'm gonna re-listen to this episode over and over again. I want to ask you, like, do you battle with God in the sense that In the Bible where there was this boy who had an affliction and he was brought to by his disciples, and his disciples was like, who sinned in the family? Why is this boy having to suffer like this? And Jesus Christ said, it's all for the glory of our Father in heaven. How, like, I would think, well, I want the glory of God to be on earth, but Father God, why did you choose me? Right? I feel like God had to equip you to do the work you're doing now. Like, that's why He chose you. So, but do you have moments when you like question God and you're like, God, I know you want to bring so much amazing things into the world. You want your glory to be on earth. But why didn't you choose my neighbor? Why me? Do you have those kind of battles with God?
Mhm. I did at 15. And then
Mm,
I shared that story of like the message coming through that there is a purpose.
mm,
Um, and that was enough for me at 15, just to know that there is a purpose. But here's the thing. I think we're all chosen, right? And we
mm,
have different battles that we have to face.
mm,
And I can't remember if it says it in the Bible or if I read it somewhere else, but it says many are called, but few are chosen, right?
mm,
Men, the way I interpret that is that many are called. We're all called to do something greater. We're all called to bring God's glory here on earth, but only a few choose to say yes to it.
mm, mm, mm,
And I could have easily said, nope, not doing it. I'm going to stay safe in the shallow end. I'm going to stay safe in a government job, or I'm going to stay safe, not putting myself out there. I could have taken it to the extreme. I'm going to stay safe and never go outside this house because I get
mm,
stared at. There's so many ways we could say no to the calling. And that's what, if you're listening to this right now and you're an entrepreneur or a speaker and you have a message on your heart, that's what makes you different because you're saying yes to the
mhm,
call. And uh, I don't really struggle so much with God in terms of like, why did you do this to me? Why did you choose me? Because there are other battles that other people are facing that I would never want. Right. And I understand that the suffering that I've had to go through or the pain that I experience on it doesn't happen all the time, but like it's something small. I drop a pen and I could spiral out. Like it's just something so simple and I can't do that. And then my mind starts going into all the things I can't do like all the things, right? We could all spiral out, but it's worth it if something greater can come from me.
mm,
That's why I actually tell people my story is not an overcoming story because I didn't
mm,
overcome the circumstance. The circumstance is the circumstance for the rest of my life. I'll never be done with it.
mm,
But it is a choosing, constant choosing to decide what is it that I want to focus on? What kind of attitude do I want to bring to the day or to the moment? Um, what surrender do I need to give right now? So it's a choice, right? Like there are people who have lost a child and that will never go away. They don't
mm,
overcome that. They just choose differently moment by moment. And so I don't know what my future holds. Maybe there's future battles that I am going to have to go into and step into. But by even stepping into the battle, I'm already victorious. Stepping into your battle, you're already victorious. And so the only time we can truly fail is by not trying. I know that sounds really cliche, but it is truth. And so I think every battle, it leaves scars, right? Our battles leave scars. And it's the stories from our scars that
mm.
people can relate to, that people feel inspired by.
Yes. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. So tell us about your business. How do you help people?
Yeah, I'm really excited about helping people step into their greatness. And there are a lot
Mm,
of ways that people can step into their greatness. And one of those ways is one, making the decision to use their life intentionally. And then two, making a decision about how they want to express that. right? So I'm assuming a lot of your listeners are entrepreneurs or or messengers or influencers in this world. And they want to make a difference. But here's what I found is that a lot of people say they want to make a difference, but they don't actually put themselves out there to make the difference.
Mm.
I was part of a mastermind one time and he said, "Do you know who the greatest marketer of all times was?" And everyone's like, I don't know, Bill Gates, Simon Sinek, like all the things. And he said, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was the ultimate marketer of all time because he demonstrated his gifts first before he asked people
Mm.
for anything. And so I challenge, this is beautiful because it's bringing the conversation full circle. I challenge people to take action on making their difference by being visible. So I put a lot of content out there. I put a lot of videos out there. And that's my way of sharing my gifts, of
Mm.
using my life intentionally. And I believe that everyone can do that if they want to, right? If they want to and they're willing to take those risks to go out into the deep end of what that looks like. And a lot of times we don't know what it looks like. But I do have a mastermind that I have for speakers, coaches, thought leaders, if they are willing and ready to step into being more visible so that their greatness can shine. We meet every week and we challenge each other. It's exactly what it
Mm.
is. It's a visibility challenge mastermind. We challenge each other to get to the next level.
Mm. So then how can people become more visible?
Hmm. Um, I get that people like the best way, obviously, in our day and age with technology is video. It really is. People want to connect with you. And the best way to connect with people is to show up as yourself and look them in the eye, figuratively, right? Like the camera.
Yeah.
You're looking at them in the eye and you're saying, "Here I am. If
Mm.
if you resonate with me, this is what I want to help you with." So video would be the first one, but I get not everyone is designed to be on video. Like they're like, but this is where the discernment comes, right? Are you not really designed for video, or are you just allowing your fear to dictate what you're designed for, right? So,
Mm.
um, I believe everybody can show up on video, but if you just want to start in baby steps, putting out your experiences out there in word and pictures, allowing yourself to be vulnerable, because at the end of the day, visibility is all about connecting with people, right? And it's about helping them. And for me, in my business, the impact is much bigger than the income that I want the impact more than I want the income. The income will come as a byproduct of the impact, but it's not what I'm leading with. And so if people want to be more visible, my number one tip would be, how can you be more vulnerable that allows people to connect with you?
Wow, I am learning a lot because I used to be that person that didn't think they had something of value to share. That person that didn't feel I was good enough. I didn't feel I had anything of value for people to listen to. And one of the things that held me back for so many years was, oh my God, I don't look pretty. Like I used to tell myself, oh gosh, you're so fat. No one will find you attractive to listen to on social media, right? And all of those limiting beliefs kept me stuck. And I'm so grateful that we're having this conversation because I know this is what many people struggle with. I had a workshop yesterday, and in the workshop, we talked exactly about this, about video being the way to attract high ticket clients. And so in the workshop, I asked the ladies, we're about 28 ladies in the room, and I said, what's holding you back from actually being visible on video? And almost all of them said confidence. I don't have the confidence. They said fear, they're afraid. So for all of those ladies to have said that, it made me realize that many people struggle with this. They have a message, they want to make an impact, but that fear of being visible is holding them back. So I am so grateful that you're talking about this, and your mastermind on your program will be very, very valuable for someone listening right now who's like, I've never been on video. I'm afraid, but I want to start taking baby steps. So in your mastermind, you help people take baby steps, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. It is definitely an action-oriented mastermind. So it's not us just talking about, it's actually doing it. And
Mm,
I'm so glad that you shared that with me because courage comes before confidence. Confidence
mm,
comes after action. So if you have the courage to act, the confidence will then be build up, right? So
mm,
um, we have no low confidence when we don't feel secure about the skill we have or the message we have. And I remember reading something that shifted my perspective on speaking because I'm very comfortable on video. I'm very comfortable in conversations like this, but the stage terrifies me, like terrifies me. And I remember reading this tip for speakers, and it said, know that what you have to say is important. Like if you
mm,
could save a life with your words, why would you hold
mm,
yourself back from saving that life?
mm,
And so I was like, oh, okay. Like what I have to say is important. And it goes back to that I'm not good enough. And I struggled with that too. But the visibility mastermind does I give you guidelines. So don't it's not like I'm going to throw you in the deep end and hope you swim. That's not the thing, right? It is saying, okay, here's a structure that you can use. I give you like over 100 topics you could talk about in your lives or in your videos. Shorts are getting very popular, right? So like anything under 60 seconds or less, which is we have to pay attention to what is being received right now, and the world is receiving short little bits of content, which
mm,
is great because you don't have to think of like an hour's worth of conversation to have with people on video. It's just a quick 30-second message. Like, I want to encourage you today to feel your best and then be your best. So it doesn't have to be complicated, but it is just putting yourself out there. And really, we are our own worst enemy. And just like when I was going through that struggle with my baby, like it's not
mm.
about you. You're
Yeah.
in it, but it's about the message. It's
Mm,
about the tips that you can help people with. It's so much bigger. And
mm,
I don't know if that helps anybody who's listening to this right now because I know I get more caught up in the I'm not good enough loop if I think it is about me. But I can be selfless and help other people. I'm able to be way more generous, especially as women, right? We're way more generous with other people than we are with ourselves. We will buy someone else a $100 gift before we buy ourselves a $100 thing. So,
yeah.
it isn't about you. It is about something bigger than you, and your voice matters, and your story matters. But the message you have is universal.
Yeah. You do these amazing Facebook videos like every day, right? And I watch those videos and I'm so inspired. Is that something you teach inside of the mastermind for people to do Facebook lives? I'm sorry, videos on Facebook?
Yes, yes. So when I started this, I started the mastermind 2 years ago. It actually came to me as a challenge. Like, so it's like I challenged people and people could sign up for the challenge, a 60-day go live challenge where you go live every day for 60 days. So that way you make it a habit, right? People are like, well,
Yeah.
why not 30? I'm like, because things don't become a habit in 30 days. Things become a
Mm,
habit in 60 days. And
mm,
so, it is very confronting, but what I found out from my clients who 2 years later, they're still with me, they
mm,
had got more clarity. They started getting invited to speaking events. People started DMing them and saying, I look forward to your message every day. Like it helps me go through my life. People started being invited to do workshops or speak at churches. Like, so it works once you start demonstrating your gifts
mm.
people know like, oh, okay, I know what this person is about and I could really use their help with this. And so yes, I give you, like I mentioned, I give you the structure and I'm not like, well, you have to follow the structure. It's about the structure. It's just guidelines to help you through that. But a lot of it is also repurposing. How many things have you already created with your podcast, Joy? How could someone go through all your podcast episodes and pull out, edit out different like short pieces of nuggets that you've said and repurpose that, right? So that's how this is how I produce so much content every day, is because I'm repurposing a lot of things that I've already done. And so it's not as hard as people think. What is really, really hard for people, like they brought up in your workshop the other day, is themselves. There's resistance there because they're scared of being rejected, looking like a fool. But it's like if you say like, oh, well, I'm part of this challenge, right? It gives people kind of like a safe space to say, I'm doing this because I'm part of a challenge. Great. Use me as your excuse to go live. Like whatever it takes for you to get your message out there, it's so important. Like, yes, throw me under the bus, do it. And I'm sure I've said a few times during our conversation. You don't have to be perfect to be great, but you do have to get started.
Wow. I feel like I can talk to you forever. Honestly, I cannot believe we're past time. I don't care, right? Because I feel like your message is a message that people need to hear, myself included. So, Pauline, before I let you go, tell us, what would you like to promote?
Well, I love anybody who is interested in stepping into their greatness through visibility to contact me. We could have what I do is I allow people to join my mastermind for, just sample it. Like at the mall, you go to the mall and they're like, would you like to try the orange chicken? Like, yes, come taste test us. And so if you feel like you're ready, even if you don't feel like you're ready, right? Like sometimes you just jump whether you're ready or not. I mean, you think you go skydiving, you think you're ready to jump out of a plane? No, you just go anyway, right? You do it messy, you go anyway, you do it scared. But if you know you're being called to share a
Mm,
specific message, then and you just don't know how to put it out there, or if you just want to have other people by your side doing it, reach out to me. Hopefully you put all my contact information in the show notes, and
okay.
yeah, and come check it out. Come check out the mastermind, then we can have a conversation to see if it's a good fit for you.
Amazing. I'm going to put all the links in the show notes and in the description if you're watching on YouTube. Wow. I feel like thank you doesn't sound good enough to say, but that's the only phrase I have in the English language to say thank you. How do you say thank you in Hawaii?
Mahalo.
Mohalo. Okay.
Mahalo.
Mohalo. Hopefully
Yeah.
that carries more meaning than thank you. But I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for coming on this show to share your wisdom and your for inspiring us to take action. And I'm so excited for the listeners to take to the next level, join your mastermind so they can become visible, so that they can share their message with the world. Thank you so much, Pauline.
Thank you, Joy. And yes, I want to just the VISTA formula I shared earlier, the T is for Thanksgiving. Gratitude has played a huge part in my life, and in how I bring things, manifest things. And thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to speak into your life and into the life of your listeners.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. If you have enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave me a review. Share this episode with a friend to spread the message of hope, abundance, and possibility. And if you're ready to take the next step to amplify your voice, attract premium clients, and create consistent income, head on over to my website, www.joyroland.com, to learn more about my Joyful Money program or grab one of my free resources. Remember, making money can be joyful, and your story is powerful. Until next time, keep showing up, sharing your voice, and building the business of your dreams. Your voice is your power. Sending you lots of love, joy, peace, and light. Bye for now.